Welcome to SuperCoach and welcome to the weekend preview. Just going to take a quick look at all the weekend's action coming up, starting off with a few of the teams, just sort of scrolling through them now myself. Just at a quick glance, it looked reasonable for us. Of course, Lockie Murphy comes back in the side, but Matt Crouch is out. Norton is out. That'll hurt a few people, particularly Crouch, because a few people would have brought him in thinking he was, a pretty handy pick up at that sort of price, but that has hurt. No real news there. Bombers drop Parrish, doesn't really affect us, but a bit of a statement. Hurley is out, of course, and I think we should be able to take advantage of that lower score. I think it was about late 60s. We should be able to get him into our sides. Might be a nice top up to one of our last positions in the back line soon. Guelphy's back, which is great. Radaglia is out. Some people might have him as a cash cow. Franklin's back. That might help some. Pendlebury back into the fray as well. Akers is out. That might be a bit frustrating for some. Bailey Rice is in. I don't mind that. He might be a guy who makes his way into my team. I think he's a pretty likely type, ready to go. He's been held back a bit. We probably thought he'd debut last year, to be honest. But he could be a handy pickup for some of us. And look, Spargo's on the extended bench. There might even be a couple of others on the extended bench, but look, otherwise everything is fairly good in terms of the teams not dealing us too many problems. So what should we be doing? Well, clearly I think most people are continuing to upgrade and find ways to make some cash. I think it's worth noting guys like Duday and Sam Murray have peaked. Duday had his first price drop, so it might be worth thinking about offloading him, but equally you could keep him because he has shown an ability to score 80 plus much more often than any other rookie, except for obviously Callie. But so he's a guy that you might be able to say, look, do I need that cash? If I do, then okay, he's not making me anymore. I think his break even's about 90. Could get that. But having said that, the likelihood is that he will lose more money. So I think he's going to sort of hang around that 300 and 350 mark for the most part. But you might want to think about that. Holman, Banfield, these types of guys are starting to really run out of ways they can make us coin. Holman, he could surprise us from time to time, but could equally score 30. So I think that's worth thinking about. What's certainly worth thinking about are these buys. Now, they're coming up quite quickly, obviously. Most of us would have been thinking about it already because clearly they require a little bit of planning. I don't think they should override what we do, but they do require a bit of planning. I think sometimes people get drawn into, at the start of the season, sort of picking their team with the buys involved and things like that. You just don't know when people are going to get injured. You could have the most perfect buy plan with your starting structure, and then it all goes to hell when so-and-so gets injured. You've got to trade in this guy, and all of a sudden, by the time the buys come round, you've offloaded a few too many and you're weighted in one particular round. So I think now, in the last couple of weeks, is when we can start to think about it. Clearly, Port and Gold Coast have their round 10 bye with the China game. Round 12, you've got Carlton, Hawthorn, West Coast Dogs. That'll be fairly bruise-free. Round 13, Brisbane Giants, Collingwood, Melbourne, Essendon, North Melbourne. Not too bad. I think round 14 seems to be the one. You've got Adelaide, you've got Richmond, you've got Fremantle, St Kilda, Geelong and Sydney. So I think most teams, particularly through the midfield, have quite a bit of action in terms of Geelong, Freo, Richmond, and obviously the Crows as well. There's a few popular players there. So I think it's tough. It's hard to say. People will have to do their own teams and add it up in terms of how they're going, because some people will feel a bit more pain than others. But I think obviously we only have to field 18 or have 18 scorers. So that's worth knowing and thinking about. But I still think if a guy's there to be picked, pick him. If someone's cheap, then you should bring them in because they're cheap. Don't avoid someone that's a really good buy and a good pick just because they might hurt you on the 1 week. Sometimes you might have to bite the bullet. Look, if you're in the top 200 and you're flying, then obviously you're going to make a few more trades for the now. But generally speaking, if you cop one extra zero, you're going to make those points up over the next 12 rounds or whatever it may be, in terms of making a good selection over a bad one. So that's worth thinking about and making sure you get that right. Don't panic too much with the buys. I think we should get through them. Obviously, the key is to a couple of smart trades. It might save you a 0 or 2 by avoiding trading someone who's got a buy coming up for someone who's had their buy. You could be able to avoid a couple of donuts that way, and clearly the bench coverage is crucial, so that's important. In terms of the now and bubble boys, look, Lockie Keefe's on the bubble. I wouldn't be jumping out going for him. I don't know about his job security, and his scoring isn't anything special either. Isaac Cumming at the Giants, you know, a highly rated player. I think he's a likely type. Will his job security be any good by the time some of these Giants eventually come back? Well, it's going to be hard to say. Charlie Ballard was on the bubble as well. I don't think we should really be looking at that. Ed Phillips is probably the one that you want to keep an eye on. He's a saint. He's in the midfield. 87 points on debut. Really found the ball really well. So I think he's probably a guy that you want to take a look at. You might not bring him in this week, but certainly if another decent score comes his way, he'll be one that most people will want to get into their sides. A few questions about Ben Ronk. Have we missed the boat? Absolutely, you've missed the boat. You've just got to cop that one. I mean, you doubt that he's going to score anything like that again. So if you got him in, great. That's fantastic. But if you missed him, then it's exactly that. You've missed him. So I like Bailey Rice. I really do. I mean, to be honest, a bit of insight into what I'm doing. Excuse me. I think to get Paddy Dangerfield, who I think is really well priced if you don't have him already. Tom Mitchell as well is another to really think about getting in. He's nicely priced. Michael Walters, Lance Franklin coming back in. There are a couple of guys that in a few weeks will be really cheap and someone to think about. So I think that's definitely a couple of guys to maybe keep your eye on. But to the original point, do they, I think, for me to find the cash to go Banfield to Dangerfield, then I think it's going to have to be Duday to a rookie, and I probably like Bailey Rice the most. Matty Eagles is also on the bubble, I think, but you know, in terms of a combination of job security, I think St Kilda are going to give him an opportunity. He's not just a fresh rookie. He's been around for a bit, finds plenty of the ball. I think he's actually in a reasonably SuperCoach friendly role. He's played as a halfback rebounder in the VFL. That might change up in the AFL, but certainly knows how to find the ball. So a little bit insight. My midfield will just about be, well, almost complete. I mean, I'll have premiums in quotations. I mean, you got Zach Merritt in there. Hopefully he can respond. Otherwise, I've got 5 Cripps, Mitchell, Martin, Canelio, Dangerfield and Kelly. So fairly pleased. In the coming weeks, I'll definitely be looking to attend to that forward line. At the moment, I've got McLean, Heaney, Smith, Petrarca, Fritz and Guelphy. The good thing is, with Guelphy coming back, Spargo hopefully keeps his spot. I've got 8 guys who are playing. So that should mean that I'm able to find the coin and have guys getting high enough for me to probably looking at Walters. I definitely think Walters. I'm tempted about Franklin, but I'm a little bit concerned. If you take out that round 1 game, he's really just had so-so scores. So I'd really like Green, but you know, I'll just assess it. But I think definitely the next point of call is absolutely the forward line for me. So anyway, hopefully you have a good week in SuperCoach. The overriding thought has got to be find those premiums, find those bubble boys. It's horses for courses. I mean, this is just me generally speaking. Your team might require 2 downgrades. You might be able to do 2 upgrades. You might not need to trade. You might keep them for the buys. You might go 1 up, 1 down. But just turn an eye to those buys. Just do the counting. See how many players you'll have in whichever week. And just start to plan for it a little bit. Because obviously, you don't want to leave it too late and then you've only got 2 trades to make amends. So anyway, have a good weekend as well. Hopefully you score nicely in SuperCoach. I'll certainly be hoping to rebound after a pretty poor week and probably a pretty poor couple of weeks, to be fair. I'll be heading along to the game at the MCG with the Cats and the Bombers, so I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully the Cats can have a win. But I'll talk to you soon, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.